Good morning. It is October the 1st already. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, October the first day of Rocktober. Yes, indeedy. It is Rocktober. For all of those that are uninitiated, it's the most volatile, craziest time of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Well. I appreciate all the well wishes for my 50th birthday yesterday. Yes, that's right. I turned 50 yesterday and it was awesome. And what we do is we don't just celebrate for a day. We celebrate all week long. That's what we do here. And that's what I'm going to be doing. As soon as I go off the air, I'm going back to celebrate some more. One more again. All right, so we had a lot of stuff going on. It seems like whenever the cat is away, the mice will play. It's always something going on. We had presidential debate, which was a debacle. Debacle, man, of all debacles, hilarious. Mad articles coming out, people waking up to a lot of different realities, and man, it's a lot going on. So we also ended the third quarter yesterday. So now today is day one. We're now in the fourth quarter, the final quarter of the year, where everything is popping off. Tom got jokes in the live chat. Happy birthday, sir. Can you tell us your experience in the 1929 crash? You got jokes. I love you too, man. Shoot, man. Actually, you know what? From all the documentaries I watched and books and stuff I read about that time, it was pretty extraordinary. It's like what they went through is like basically the same thing that we're going through, but just without the internet and social media. And it's funny because history does repeat itself. We've now exceeded the 1929 debacle. If you want to break it down, 2020 is the worst trading activity on record. All right, as far as the lowest intraday print percentage, whatever terms you want to put on there, we exceeded everything. We've exceeded every statistic from the Great Depression. We have exceeded them. And waking up this morning, do you know how many job layoffs? Man, I think it's over 100,000 announced. I know American Airlines, Disney said they're going to lay off 28,000. American Airlines laying off tens of thousands. Continental laying off tens of thousands. I think 30,000. You got Shell laying off like 9,000. It's crazy. But the ADP employment situation this morning showed that there were less claims last week than expected. So that's supposed to be a good thing. Oh, well, we'll have to wait and see about that. They always do revisions after the fact, which is always been suspect in my opinion. All right, let's get the business out the way. So right now, the Dow's up 131 points at 27,794. NASDAQ 100, the E-mini, is up 142 and a quarter points at 11,547 and three quarters. E-mini S&P 500 up 20 at 3372 and a half. Russell My Hustle up 8.3 at 1512.7. We got the Bitcoin Futures Composite Index up 200 after breaking 11,000 in the overnight session. We're now trading at 10,970. Nat gas is up a penny at $2.54. Crude oil, right after I did that end of day report, it's already coming into fruition. Can you say downside? When I say downside, you say production. Downside production, downside production. That's what we got. Crude oil is down a whopping $1.20 right now, trading at $39.02 a barrel after topping out in the overnight market at $40.45 a barrel. The long bond, which is not acting like the strong bond this morning, is down a whopping 22.30. That's almost a full point. We're trading at 175 and 19.30. Now, gold is waking up back over 1900 again this morning, up $12.40, trading at $1,908.10 an ounce. Silver also trying to wake up. It's up 24 cents, trading at $23.74 an ounce. US dollar index right now is down 12 pips at 93.75, kind of floating, levitating around those levels. We got the euro dollar up 23 pips at 117.59. Pound sterling up 6 at 129.10. Aussie up 21 at 71.84. Canadian down 14 at 133.10. Euro yen up 48 at 124.09. Back above that 124 handle. We got the dollar yen up 21 at 105.66, and the Kiwi is up 16 pips at 66.35. On fire this morning is beans. We got the beans up 8 points at 10.31.5. Corn is up 4 at 3.83 even, and wheat is up a half a point at 5.78.5. And that is a quick little snapshot of the overnight markets. All right, so it's becoming apparent that the foundational pillars of the one world government, the new world order, the new world religion is really starting to take formation. And it seems that you see certain individuals and power structures bowing down to worship at this altar. And they have now their own, their own little tenets here, which is quite interesting. If you really break it down, I think it does make sense, especially when you compare it to like the creeds of the New Testament. So it goes a little something like this. We believe, this is the doctrinal thesis, the doctrinal position of the new world order. You ready? Here you go. We believe in one virus, the SARS-CoV-2, the almighty destroyer of heaven and earth. That is all there is, seen and unseen. We believe in one malady, COVID-19, the only son of SARS-CoV-2, eternally begotten of the virus, God from God, darkness from darkness, true God from true God, begotten, not made, probably, of one being with the virus. For diseases are they none but the one true virus, and death comes not without its presence. Thou shalt have no diseases before the one true virus. They that die outside the virus shall not have their passing told unto the people on a quotation basis, in hushed tones, of course, but shall be quietly recorded in obscure tables when the time comes. Through the virus, all things were unmade. For us men and women, and all points in between, and for our damnation, it came down from heaven, or maybe from China, or even Maryland. By the power of the holy WHO, it became incarnate from the swirling microbes, or maybe bat soup, through immaculate zoonosis, and was made a pandemic. For its sake, we were crucified under ongoing lockdown. It suffered not death. Like unto most, it afflicted, it is never buried in the news. Though by the evidence that appeareth on those who do pass away or wax sick, it hath waned to almost naught. On the second wave, it rose again. And though few did perish, many were tested, and lo, many were deemed infected, probably. And cases were they named, though sickness showed they none, in accordance with the great plan. It ascended into the collective consciousness, and is sealed on the right and left hand of all, lest with sanitizer they do anoint themselves 50 times hourly. It will come again in glory as many times as necessary to convince the living and the dead, and his masked kingdom will have no end, it seemeth. We believe in the unholy pathogen, the Lord Rona, the taker of life, for they that are vulnerable, though he passeth the children by, who proceeds from the laboratory and the test with the quest for a vaccine, the donning of the holy mask, and with question of the faithful, he is worshipped and glorified, and its name kept alive in the minds of all. It hath spoken through the science, and thereafter through the media, through potentates and rulers, and through the scriptures of the WEF and of the foundations and think tanks that do proclaim its gospel. Woe to they who do not speak out against the words of the powers of COVID or their servants, for they shall be anathema, and their names removed from the book of face, and platform shall they have none. One shall they be made with that aver the earth to be flat, and conspiracy theorists shall be named. We believe in one unholy, catastrophic, and technocratic global church. We acknowledge one great reset for the salvation of all. We look in vain for the resurrection of reason, proportionality, and democracy, and towards the life of the new world to come. Amen. I have to tell you, this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Like it, love it, lump it. This is the doctrinal COVIDian creed. And if you are not down with the program, you shall be ostracized. All right. So that was a message to all of the unconverted. Either you get down or you lay down. All right. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. This is the world we're in. And, you know, it's sad that we're here, but we're not really surprised. Are we surprised? No, we're not. Now, I have a theory. It is just a theory, all right? It's not necessarily factual, though it might be factual. I don't know, but it's worth talking about. I would be amiss if I did not mention the presidential debate. It's been all the rave. It's been on all social media platforms, all major television networks worldwide. Other countries were watching it and had it broadcast in their languages. And you can pretty much narrow it down to one little thing. If that presidential debate didn't show and prove to you that it's all one football team, one is wearing a different color practice jersey than the other, but when it comes time for game time, they are on the same side. Was that not apparent to you during the presidential debate? Did you not pick up on that they were literally on the same side? Okay, let me help you out in case you may be a little politically slow. All right, so we know that Mr. Biden has some medical issues that they've been trying to cover up, no matter how apparent and glaring they are. So instead of letting Mr. Biden speak and trip all over himself and totally expose himself, President Trump just kept interrupting him. Therefore, he couldn't really finish a complete sentence because they knew he couldn't complete a full sentence. They probably pulled Donald Trump up before the debate and said, "Look, man, look ahead, partner. The hot shot is not working. You know, the shot that helps stimulate the brain activity, neural activity, it's not working. His situation is too far advanced. It's not working. Putting the earpiece in his ear, it's not working either. He's just, we can't work with this man, but we can't hide him from the media any longer. So we have to put him out there. So Donald, you're just gonna have to be Donald. You're gonna have to be Donald. I'm sorry. Look, you had enough acting lessons on your show that you had. All right. You know how to act. We need you to get on that stage and just act a complete clown, act a complete fool, act like you don't have no kind of manners or home training or upbringing. Just be a straight up clown on national TV. We need you to do this. Take one for the team, because Biden cannot be made to look sick. All right. If anything, make him look frustrated, because if you're frustrated because you keep getting interrupted and someone's clowning you, then it won't count if you slur words or forget your train of thought, because people won't notice it, because you'll be constantly interrupting him. Do not let him complete a sentence. All right. And do not let him stay on task, because he can't stay on task. So we need you to change it up. Like every 5 seconds, we need to go in there and change the topic, talk over him, do whatever it takes, but do not let him complete a sentence. If he completes a sentence, we're ruined. All right. That is my take. Now you say, why would you think that or suspect that? Well, because have you not seen all the classic memes? Have you not seen all the live interviews or what have you when Biden is talking, just talking, and how he can't talk, he can't complete a sentence? Well, he didn't have to worry about completing a sentence during the debate, did he? He did not have to complete a sentence because Donald Trump didn't let him. He interrupted at every moment. He interrupted. Bam, 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 bam. Interruption, 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 and more interruption, and then again, more interruption. That's all we got from him. Mad interruptions. So you technically can't say that you really heard Biden speak at all. Not really. Not really. He couldn't get a clear thought out. And I think that was by design, to cover everything else up. It only makes sense, right? Think about it. Think about it. Think about what was accomplished. Nothing. Nothing was accomplished. And I think that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted nothing to be accomplished. Now, let that just marinate for a minute. So we know that we have this new religion, the religion of COVID, the church of COVID. But let's break down how this is transpiring, though, because it's a little wicked when you break it down. So where does this leave us? Well, it kind of explains a lot. Okay. We've gone from the pistol dollar to the petrodollar, and now we have the pharma dollar. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The pharmaceutical industrial complex is flexing its muscles. Now, in 1973, the world economy was brought almost to a halt by a supposed shortage of oil. All right, that was in 73. Now, the trigger for this alleged shortage was the so-called Yom Kippur War, in which the armed forces of the Anglo-American Empire settler colonial offshore enterprise in Palestine, also known as the State of Israel, repelled the forces of Egypt and Syria, which had moved to reoccupy the territory stolen from them by Israel in the 1967 Six-Day War. Now, one response to the Anglo-American Empire's support of its client state against those states Israel wished to conquer was an oil embargo proclaimed by none other than OPEC itself, with the largest producer, the autocratic Anglo-American Saudi Arabia, at the lead. Now, portrayed in the mainstream Western media as a sign of Arab economic strength, also as anti-Semitism, the embargo led to massive economic disruption in all the countries that had to import oil, mainly Europe and its former colonies. All right, so this is another strike at the British Empire. But it didn't stop there. You see, this embargo created the impression of a global oil shortage. Can you say artificial scarcity? That sounds familiar. Hey, aren't we experiencing artificial scarcity right now? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We created the impression of a global oil shortage. Hey, didn't earlier this year we created the impression of a global oil oversupply? Now, although there was no global oil shortage back in 1973, it could not be overcome without violating the power of the oil cartel. Now, while the oil OPEC embargo formally restricted the sale of crude oil to Israel's sponsors, there was no real oil shortage since oil supplies to Europe and the US has always been in the hands of the majors, now super majors, then known as the Seven Sisters. OPEC's announcement of an embargo at the well had no impact on the enormous upstream reserves held by the mainly American majors. However, it did provide the pretext for massive price increases at the pump, presented as shortage induced. Now, unnoticed except in the aftermath and ignored generally in popular debate or historical literature was the far more insidious deal made secretly while everyone from Bonn to Boston and line to Los Angeles was queuing for petrol or they were on the dole. They were taking handouts. In 1971, Richard Nixon had announced that the US dollar would no longer be redeemable for gold. This is just 2 years prior. Now, he said that it wouldn't be redeemable for gold at any price. All right, this is 1971, embargo 1973. Now, this decision had been largely induced by the enormous debt incurred funding the U.S. war against Vietnam. Now, in the course of this fateful decision, secret negotiations were undertaken in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which led to an agreement that Saudi Arabia and OPEC would not sell oil in any currency except, you guessed it, US dollars. Now, the oil crisis pushed the price of oil to such heights that many countries in Europe, and especially the newly independent countries, soon exhausted their foreign exchange reserves and were compelled to borrow US dollars to pay for oil imports. Now, the result was a boom for the US regime, oil and banking, not its ordinary citizens. All right, just oil and banking. They raked in the money while the citizenry was suffering. Now, as the demand for U.S. currency led to an inflow of foreign exchange and an overall improvement in its current accounts, meanwhile, the U.S. Treasury could literally print dollars to buy oil when the time was right. Now, even today, this story is told in a way to cast aspersions on the Arab states, although all the major oil producing Arab states involved were and are entirely dependent upon the Anglo American Empire and its military force for their very survival. It is a false parable used to exaggerate the innocence of or helplessness of the sister colonial state surrounded by everyone else. And instead, what's up with the oil? What's up with the oil? Meanwhile, poor Israel only has atomic bombs and the biggest foreign and aid subsidy per capita of any country the US funds. Something to think about. It's worth recalling this story, all right, here that the Seven Sisters, as they were then called, are actually fewer now due to the mergers. The upstream oil industry is still dominated by the Standard Oil companies. Yes, Rockefeller, ExxonMobil, yeah, and their allies, as well as the Rothschild Noble companies. Together, they assure that oil prices and distribution are closely controlled, if not absolutely controlled, and that the commerce in oil is billed in the leading currency of the empire, the US dollar. Now, the Anglo-American Empire, amazingly similar in composition to the dream of Cecil Rhodes and his personal banker Lord Rothschild, relies not only on oil and the financial transactions connected with it. There are two other major businesses that support the value of lead currencies, like the United States dollar, the pound sterling, or even the euro dollar. They are war, and hence both legal and illegal arms sales and drugs, both illicit and licit. All three markets are entirely controlled by cartels and state regulation. Moreover, they provide windfall profits because they are all addicted and addictive and toxic. That means the traders get money and the buyers get garbage. When we say traders, we don't mean Wall Street stocks and things of that nature. We mean those that control the supply of the physical commodity, in this case, which is oil. Marinate on that just for a quick second. We need a commercial break. One of these days, I'll have some music to play for you. Be right back. All right. So, hope you went and got some coffee if you needed it during that little break, that little intermission. Now it's time to move on. All right. Okay, so stemming from the 19th century opium wars, Great Britain became the biggest dope pusher in the world. The opium trade made the British East India Company shareholders and those who traded with it wealthy beyond compare. While the U.S. American schoolchild may learn about the Boston Tea Party, in which a few ruffians dumped British East India tea into the harbor as a protest against taxation like the Townshend Act, excuse me, they won't learn that proud New England families not only funded the Ivy League colleges with slave trading, but with the income from opium business as well. They like to leave those out of your textbooks, but these are facts. You can look them up on your own. It is essential to recall that every crime is simply the unauthorized version of an activity otherwise deemed legal. The difference between marriage and dowry and prostitution is simply the statute book. The difference between war and murder is the sovereign rules and regulations again. Now, Seagram produced whiskey in Canada that was legal and sold it more profitably in the US during when? Prohibition, where it was illegal. The leading pharmaceutical companies are the brothers of the heroin, cocaine, and synthetic pushers. And between all these folks who are all just merchants, there is this state. The state, the armed bureaucracy that regulates these businesses in accordance with the most powerful to permit each side of these businesses to extract the maximum profit. Yes, extracting the maximum profit from us. All right? That's what it's about. They're extracting it from us. People don't really like to think about that either, but it's true. All right, can you guys hear me now? There's some saying they can't hear my audio. Can y'all hear me now in the live chat? Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Am I coming in live and direct? Testing 1 2 3. You can hear me? Great. Okay. All right. Outstanding. Okay. Now, that said, if you take a look at why in a global system dominated by the religious ideology of business and the absolute priority of the economy, have we seen the leading authorities, autocratic and bureaucratic, suspend the economy and disregard businesses because of a new improved version of the seasonal influenza? Now, there are rational and irrational explanations. That is because power may be understood rationally, but those who hold and exercise it are often, if not always, clinically insane. Yeah, we got the nuts running the nut house. Now, is it just because they own the clinics and because they own the doctors that no one can utter this diagnosis? Think about it. Think about it. Well, now enter the pandemic. You see, it's all tied together. Now, following events in China, the OPEC of the pharmaceutical cartel, aka the World Health Organization, all right, performed some international bureaucratic gymnastics like several years ago with the so-called swine flu to declare a high-grade pandemic phase alert. That's what they did. They said, we're going to use this to our advantage. Never, ever let a good crisis go to waste, right? Now, this decision was presented as some kind of service to public health, but this euphemism is deliberately conflated with concern for the well-being of ordinary humans, but is nothing of the sort. To make this quite clear, most genuine public health issues arise from poor nutrition, vile working conditions, polluted air, polluted water and food, and poverty. You got to throw in there the chemtrails, which is polluting the soil, poisoning the water, terrible, outdated water filtration systems, putting fluoride in the water, and other pathogens being allowed in the public water. And none of these pathogens is part of the WHO brief. Now, the World Health Organization was established solely to market Western medical products worldwide and at the most profitable rates possible. That's why they like using, they like naming things a certain way to throw you off. All right. So, for instance, they may call the death squad something like social workers. It's not a death squad. Those are social workers. What are you talking about? But their main goal is to exterminate. But by using a name called social worker, like, oh, they care about humanity. No, they're actually trained mercenaries, and we put them on the boots on the ground to assassinate everyone who's moving. So they love doing things like that. They love putting names on something that sounds great, like they're helping or something, but that's not what they are. Again, that's like taking the dude, the executioner, who chops people's heads off. And instead of calling an executioner, you may call him something like a geriatric physician, or you may call him a pediatrician, or you may even call him a police officer. But really, he's an executioner, because police officer and humanitarian sounds so much better than executioner. So this means, among other things, by arranging that poor countries devote precious foreign exchange for the purchase of bulk pharmaceuticals of dubious value under the pretext of being able to treat their indigent populations for illnesses, they're almost entirely due to poor nutrition, vile working conditions, polluted air, water, food, and poverty. Long before the Bush-Clinton clique promoted humanitarian interventionism, the WHO was poisoning the poor for humanitarian purposes, also known as, wait for it, eugenics. Anyone who has not grasped the consequences of the U.S.'s regime ownership of the UN and its agencies, you need to go read the story of the UN in Korea and in the Congo. Go ahead and Google that, and you'll see how those operations went down. Again, you can't make this stuff up. It's right here in black and white. Anyone can look it up. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, have you noticed that in all of our different various industries, right? Have you noticed that there's one thing that the pharmaceutical industrial complex has going for it that no other industry has? No other industry on the face of the earth, to be precise, has this setup. No one. You know what that is? I'll tell you. What they have going for them is immunity. 100% immunity. That's right. They can come out with the most dangerous immunizations and vaccinations, and then they will be insulated from prosecution by the government. Yeah, that's what they do. You don't have that with any other industry. No other industry. Name an industry that has 100% immunity. Car manufacturers don't have it. Food is more important than medicine, and food companies do not have immunity. No one has immunity except for the pharmaceutical industrial complex. They get to make medicines, and then if it kills you or makes you sick, they also own a bunch of big law firms, all right, that they've created that do nothing but specialize in making you look foolish when you go to court. So even if you could sue them, you'll never win. You'll never win. Because then you will have to prove that their medication made you sick. How are you going to do that without spending ridiculous amounts of money, sending it through independent labs, and good luck finding a truly independent lab that is not owned and operated by the pharmaceutical industrial complex? Then you have to prove that that medicine did it. And all they have to do is cast reasonable doubt that maybe your underlying health condition caused it. And trust and believe they will mark scientists and other esteemed colleagues up on the up on the witness box to testify that there have been studies to prove that if you get a splinter in your thumb, it could kill you. Even though it's a 1 in 50 billion chance, it's still it's still a chance. And then they say, okay, this person had an underlying medical condition. Trust me, if you say, well, I'm healthy, I don't have any conditions, I don't take any maintenance medications. Yeah, but if you smoke cigarettes or weed, they'll say, well, I have a scientist here. Here's some studies that show that smoking cigarettes and weed can lead to whatever happened to you. And then you have to prove that that's not the case, and then convince the jury that that's not the case. And trust me, you won't be able to do it. You'll lose. You will lose. All right. So the days of Aaron Brockovich are gone. All right. Because now we have a powerful thing called social media, and we have a brand new internet. So, yeah, good luck. Plus, then you'll find out that because this pharmaceutical industrial complex is part of your government, just like the military industrial complex is part of your government, and the prison industrial complex is part of your government. See, we live in fascism. You don't know where your government begins and where the major Fortune 500 companies end. Who do you think is working at the high levels of government? They are ex-employees of the said industrial complexes. Who do you think runs the FDA? The pharmaceutical industry. Because that's what they do. They appoint their heads of the and big companies to head government agencies. It's how it's called corruption, folks. You need to understand that. And the corruption doesn't end there. It only begins there, but it doesn't end there. How about the state of Colorado encouraging dead people and non-citizens to vote? Want to speak about corruption? That's right. The Colorado Secretary of State is under fire after mailing postcards to dead people and non-citizens, urging them to go online and register to vote. According to CBS Channel 4, at least a dozen people are confirmed as receiving the postcards who shouldn't have, while the number of unconfirmed erroneous mailings is, of course, unknown. Can't make this stuff up, people. Nah. Again, corruption. That's what we call corruption. I told you they were going to use the mail-in ballots for manipulative purposes. That's what's happening, and there's no way around it. People don't like to believe these nasty things. But when it comes out that the nasty things are indeed happening, what do? You bury your head in the sand. You bury your head in the sand. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, because it's painful. You don't want to have to think about it. You don't want to have to deal with these things, but you do. You do. Just like you have to deal with the fact that Western government-funded intelligence agencies do nothing but spread propaganda, not just here at home, but all over the world. It's what they do. We're being lied to every day, man. Every single day. But guess what? Winter is coming. Winter is coming. And what are you going to do? Are you going to forget and ignore all the things that you've been shown? Are you going to just ignore the show Black Mirror? Remember the robot dog thingamajig? Well, guess what? There's footage of it actually patrolling the street in real time and not in a movie or a film project. That's right. That's right. In Canada, Thursday, September the 24th, a Boston Dynamics robot dog was spotted walking down the street. And the whole thing was caught on video by Canadian Twitter user Blood Tier. The 18-second video was straight from the Black Mirror episode titled Metalhead, where a four-legged robotic dog started killing people. However, there was no gore in this encounter this time. The Boston Dynamics robot was walking down the sidewalk, turned and looked at the camera, and then went on its way. That's right. Robot dog strolling the streets, ladies and gentlemen. What you gonna say about that one? You know what I'm saying? It's already too late, people. It's already too late. When I used to warn about these things, people say, "Oh no, you don't understand. You don't understand. The people will rise up. The people will rise up." Ain't nobody rising up. And if you count Antifa and Black Lives Matter terrorism, that's not the people. Those are paid actors, paid bad actors. That's not your neighbor across the street. So let's call it what it is. All right. Or how about this for one? How about former Deutsche Bank traders convicted of fraud for spoofing precious metals between, guess when, 2008 and 2013. That's right. They did it throughout 2008 all the way into 2013. Remember all the stuff we saw happening during that time? Well, they were manipulating the market. That's right. They were accused of making fake trade orders to influence the price of precious metals. That's right. Think about it. Now, spoofing works by fooling the market into thinking there are more bids or offers than are legitimately there. It has been illegal since the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act. That's right. Can't do it. It's illegal. But they did it, and they have been caught, ladies and gentlemen. The corruption is rampant. I've never seen so much corruption in my life. Maybe it's because we live in an age with, camera phones and things of that nature where things are more easily spotted. I don't know. But until these, we need a spring cleaning, to be honest. We need a spring cleaning. You got to get all the Republicans and Democrats out of office and put all independents in there. You got to. You don't have a choice. You won't be able to drain the swamp otherwise. It's just going to continue on the way it's been going. And then the American people are really going to be in trouble. A lot of trouble. So I don't know, man. Take it for what it's worth. That's all I can tell you. Take it for what it's worth. And just prepare. Hope for the best, but unfortunately prepare for the worst. That's all you can do at the end of the day. Nothing else you can do. There is nothing else that you can do. All right, with that being said, y'all know what it is, man. Smash that like button, PulseWaveTrading.com. And remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And everybody in that live chat, smash the button. What up, Dave? What up, Patricia? Long time no see. What up, Dar and Vados and OG and Tom and Michael, John, V-Dub, Cass. What up, everybody? Kelvin, everybody, all my peoples. Let's get in here and make some money in these markets. I believe that some volatility will continue to increase. It will continue to increase, but I'm thinking that for the most part, just be prepared. There are going to be days where you're going to have to stop and reverse, and there are going to be days where you won't. If you get stopped out, you got to sit out and let the market sort itself out until the next day. And I'll go over that in tonight's end of day report. We'll take a look at a couple of charts, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Some of these markets too are in turning points, and then you got some like the NASDAQ 100. Believe it or not, it was going that way, and all of a sudden it just reversed on a dime and said, "Nah, I want to be a bull market. I don't want to be a market in correction anymore." So coming into today, that's pretty much how it is. The bias right now, and here's the weird part. Even after what it did yesterday, it came into today with a trade bias to the downside. Lot of weirdness, but we'll go over that tonight. I'll show you guys what I mean. Also, we have a lot more markets in the Kumo cloud. I see here on the charts too. So we'll get into it. So you definitely don't want to miss the end of day report today, because we're gonna go in and take a look at a few things and see what's really going on. All right, so I will see you guys in the trade room. Everybody else, I'll see you tonight. Peace.